discovered in my writing that the most powerful writings is not the stuff that's read by thousands of people. Sometimes it's a few people that matter that read what you write. If we walk away from the likes, the shares, and that kind of stuff, and write a piece where you close the computer and you walk away and you feel you've done what's precious to you. If more and more of us did that, we will change our societies. But if we think, and here's the thing, you will know that the world is changed by crazy people. The world is changed by idealists. The world is not changed by the masses. The masses do follow eventually. It's the crazy people that are invested in researching a piece, finding what the truth is, and going for that truth. The people that change with the wind, I'll at the risk of not being given a visa to travel to America. Can you see what Trump has done to business leaders, to academics? Because people stand for nothing. If you don't stand for nothing, you will think that being on WhatsApp and being on Twitter and doing Facebook stuff is what matters. But if you stand for something, you will stand and be resolute. Your question about China and dictatorial regimes, that's a tough one, eh? That's a tough one. I was blessed to visit China 5 weeks ago. It's let's not make a mistake. There's a billion Chinese who are very happy with what's happening in China, standard of living and all that kind of stuff. I think for me, it makes me begin to wonder, and we need to interrogate this question. Is democracy the answer? Is democracy the answer? I'm sorry, I'm going to offend all the ambassadors here because, they preach democracy. I want to posit that democracy is a problem. That there isn't just one democracy fits all. And actually, when the team gave me this assignment, I wandered away from trying to focus too much on democracy. Because what I want us to focus on is building the good society. The good society that's based on values, the good society that's based on strong institutions. Democracy defined by an election after 5 years, whether the laws of the country are rigged or not rigged. We should have the elections, we celebrate, we have another election, and so forth. For me, that is not democracy. Unfortunately, that is what currently exists right now. I think Africa's challenge at the moment is actually to sit and say, is democracy the right thing? Is democracy the right thing? And I'm one of those people that are really beginning to rethink this whole democracy thing. Because here is a question. Here's the thing. The people that are, I know Chris McKay is looking at me like this guy's crazy. Chris is my lawyer. The people that are voting in this democracy are the same people that are using WhatsApp endlessly, uninformed. So I'm sorry, I'm having a rethink on what democracy means for us. I'm having a rethink on what we need to do. And here's the thing. We need from time to time to rethink the things that are important to us. And I think we need to engage with, we should actually, Ambassador from Canada, sponsor a session where we all sit down and say, democracy as practiced in Africa, is it the right thing to do? I'm having a big question mark. And here's the solution after the question mark. Let's formulate a way that makes sure that my grandmother in the rural areas has clean water, has a hospital, our kids get educated and that kind of stuff. How do we get to that point? I don't think it's necessarily through democracy. But I could sit here and lecture you on that, and by the time you're done, you'll have changed your mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. I see another hand there and one at the back. If you could make your questions and contributions very quick so that we can, or very brief rather, so that we can have as many as possible and then keep to our time. Go ahead, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much for the great presentation. I have a question, rather two questions. The first one, You spoke about how real journalism offends everyone. Basically, the opposition, when they try to take media as PR for airing their voices, and also the government that is in maybe in power, trying to also take advantage of the weak media. So my question is, how can a journalist maintain this balance of independency in deeply polarized political environments? That's question number one. Then number two, this is directed to the great generations of young journalists that are coming up into the media spaces on how they can leverage on how to reset in terms of practical terms for entering the media field. How can they be assisted, and how can they maybe take practical lessons from what has been happening, consider the arrests and everything? Thank you.
Fantastic. You can tackle that one right away. Quite interestingly, Trevor, when you're talking about that question about opposition parties, it's quite ironic that a lot of these times when you see what were opposition become ruling parties, they replicate the very same things that they were crying about in terms of repressing the media and not allowing that freedom.
Which is my point about democracy. No, we need to investigate that. Your first question, journalists are leaders. Okay. When I got into journalism in 1989, we knew we had a leadership role, and that leadership role is because we've got more time to read and research than most of you guys. So when we take positions, these must be informed positions that at the end of the day engage the society. I don't know how many of you know, 1989 Zimbabwe was a one-party state. Robert Mugabe was going to be a one-man ruler kind of thing. The Zimbabwe Independent, so the Financial Gazette at that time, led the charge against the opposition towards a one-party state, and Robert Mugabe being a one-party, being the only president in the country. We stood for the truth. We stood for the facts. We stood for what we believed in. That is the role of journalists. The role of journalists is not to march behind the opposition or march behind the ruling party. You're not a journalist when you do that. You ought to stand for something. And this is the thing. When you stand for something, they'll come for you. Okay? They'll come for you. They'll arrest you and so forth. But that's a consequence of leadership. Are you leading where you are with the facts, with doing research that matters at the end of the day? There are consequences to that. And this links also to the second question that you asked. What should young people be doing? For me, my burden at this moment is that with all due respect, we need that hard reset that I was talking about. Is we need to create new institutions to train our journalists. Okay? Because there are few leadership role models in our newsroom, just as there are few leadership role models throughout the country. Sorry to say this, but the people that are modeling, the people that are successful, are the people that are corrupt. Okay? We need to have people modeling what it is like to be a good citizen, who value principles, who value ethics, who are courageous, who empathy and that kind of stuff. Not these guys who line up people and give them cars and people saying, I want to be like that man. That's what we have as a country. Not just that. I mean, I was reading, it's also the same thing in South Africa. The thieves are coming out as leaders because most of us lack the courage to lead from the front, to be principled as a journalist, to say, I'll write this story whether I get arrested or not. You live that way, people in the newsroom will admire you. There are cowards in the business community. They'll run away from you. They'll not advertise on what you're doing and that kind of stuff. Does that matter at the end of the day? Do you believe in what you do? Are you prepared to take risks for the things that you believe in? Change was never brought by cowards. Change is brought by dreamers and people who dare. Thank you.
Fantastic. In the interest of time, we'll take two more contributions. I see two hands. If you could make them as succinct as possible so we can stay within our time. I'd seen a hand over there and one at the back. Is there a hand here as well? Oh,
Thank you. My name is Liam from ActionAid. Uh, Trevor, my question is, we are currently in an era of digital capitalism and platform capitalism itself, where tech oligarchs have monopolized access and control over the media itself in order to steer around conversations that protect their interests vested in the global political economy in terms of protecting private property, stock market interests. And this has translated into right wing resurgence, or it has allowed platforms or avenues for extreme right wing politics to resurface, right? So, in such a world where, as you say, that print media also is suffocating because of the new rise of digital media, how do we best build a media whose independence remains resilient, but also can cut through the noise of right wing disinformation?
The problem that we have is, or rather, let me back off and answer your question the way I should answer it, is your question is vitally important. It is central. Can we stop giving agency to other people, to our problems? Can we own that agency? Here is the thing. Why don't we have Zimbabwean companies in South Africa, CEOs coming together and responding? So who asked the question, by the way? I didn't see the hand. Oh. Wonderful. Asking those kind of questions. How do we as Africans deal with these issues? Because they are real. If we got our leading companies to come together and say, how does this look like? What's the solution that we should be providing? Is it the training of our journalists? Is it building platforms that enable our media to survive? Is it investing in media institutions? What are the solutions to this? So for me, the issue, the challenge, and the response to that is, let us own our solutions. What the Americans are doing, Facebook and whatever, yes, it is hurting us, but what is our response? Our response, for me, tough as it is how do we organize? Can we have, for instance, a room full of Zimbabwean companies quoted on the stock exchange like this and dealing with how do we deal with the issue of fake news? How do we deal with the issue of empowering our journalists? But unfortunately, they will not do that, because if they do that, then they are seen to be siding with the media. Therefore, they will not get the contracts and that kind of stuff. So I think most solutions we do have, if we are serious enough and burdened enough by the problems that you've just outlined. Digital oligarchy is a big thing, is a big threat to who we are. But what are we as Africans doing? What is the AU doing? What is SADC doing? Have we been incapacitated as an organized people to come up with solutions to the problems that affect us? I don't think so. But it's because we do not prioritize these issues. If we did, we'd find solutions to these issues. So I'm afraid that the blame game is not the solution. The solution is getting in the boxing ring and finding solutions, and those solutions will gain traction. You asked the question about polarization, which I might not have answered fully. So polarization in Zimbabwe and toxicity, and how journalists take a stand as far as that is concerned, is to walk away from polarization and toxicity, is to be the change maker yourself by standing for something. A lot of our journalists don't stand for anything. We stand for people ululating on the sidelines and telling us that we're doing good things when we're actually not doing good things. We can stand against polarization. We can stand against toxicity by being the change that the country wants and not by joining in the polarization. The African continent requires leaders who are invested in building institutions that will help Africa deal with the challenges of digital colonialism, if you want to call it that way. But we can't expect Facebook and others to find solutions for us. And here's the thing, I'm sure you know that one of the vice president of Google is James Manyika, a Zimbabwean. Why can't we get African governments getting together and say, we've got these amazing brains that are out there, bring them onto the continent, get them to work on solutions. That happened during COVID, remember? Where Strive Masiwa and others got together and got these big brains in Ethiopia and stuff and say, can we find solutions to the issue of, what was that thing that they were
Vaccines.
during? What is it called? The vaccines. The vaccines was an issue. It was resolved by Africans with the help of some Europeans wanting to help Africa to get to come up with a solution. So it points to one thing, good people. The world, you don't, we need to do stuff to liberate ourselves from the things that we're facing right now. The world owes us nothing. The world owes us nothing. We need to organize ourselves and to get back what belongs to us. The political liberation of this country was not fought by the British or the Americans, it was fought by us. So unless we are prepared to fight all these other wars, we'll continue sitting in these rooms and complaining about what other people are doing to us rather than organizing to free ourselves.
Thank you. Very quickly, sir, if you could go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much, Trevor. My name is Tendai Mbaje. I'm from the Center for Human Rights, West Pretoria. I'd like to start by appreciating your remarks and giving us a sense that good journalism, people ought to put their life on the line for the truth. And also that resonates with the idea that good journalism occurs or is allowed to flourish in an environment where freedom of expression is guaranteed. So freedom of expression is the lifeblood of democracy. And then I got intrigued when we were saying that you are starting to rethink about democracy, yet at the heart of democracy is freedom of expression. I have a privilege to interact with Chinese at the university, and they say that we are not allowed to criticize their leaders. They are not allowed to speak anything bad about their government. That's how serious the Chinese government is in terms of surveillance and in terms of control of its citizens. They are, to some extent, forced to go and only show what the Chinese government is doing, the good side. Yet sometimes they don't actually believe in the other aspects, particularly when it comes to expression. People say, or some philosophers are of the view that it's better to have freedom in hardship than to have a banquet under tyranny. So the model that our counterparts have in the East, I do think still that right now there's now opening up. They're even teaching human rights in some of the universities in China. So I do believe that democracy still remains a key pillar that allows human beings freely express and to live without harming each other. That was kind of a thought that I said, when you are rethinking about democracy, could you please consider that the absence of democracy, it means that free speech, free expression also be absent. And for that reason, we are gathered here because we have free speech. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I think I hear what you're saying, and I'm sure this the person who's leading the ululating is my lawyer, I hear where you're coming from and I hear the pain, but I want us to, can we be a bit more, can we have more deep reflection of what we mean by this democracy? Because I've lived in a country that says it's democratic for the past 40 years. I've been arrested for speaking out and that kind of stuff. Am I living in a democracy? Should I continue supporting this nonsense? Okay. So I want us to, I don't think I'll have the solutions right now, but I want us to reflect deeply about what we mean by a democracy. And on both sides, by the way, on both sides, those who are in opposition, what democracy do they believe in? Those who are in power, what democracy do they believe in? And by the way, I also actually believe that freedom of expression is a right. Just for being, you're a human being, you need to express yourself. Not necessarily in a democracy. You need to express yourself. The ambassadors here are agreeing, disagreeing with me quite violently, but I love it. I love it. And I'm hoping by the end of this, you guys are going to say to yourself, what do we mean by democracy? Because the democracy that I mean, I'm lived in for 43 years. I'm 63 years now. I'm talking from experience. It has not delivered anything that I want. Okay. So let's be, this is the beauty about not having WhatsApp. This is not a WhatsApp conversation. Okay. It's a deep conversation. What do we mean? I am having second thoughts about democracy, and I want us to engage in defining what is the solution for Africa. I'm not saying dictatorship. I'm not saying one party state. I'm saying there's a model somewhere that should be able to deliver the things that we want, freedom of expression and that kind of stuff. But this democracy that guys you're talking about, and unless maybe it's different from what I'm saying, but I've poured all my life to freedom of expression because I believe in it. But I don't think it necessarily means freedom of expression cannot survive in a place that's not democratic, that doesn't have a democracy. Let's engage with that.
Indeed.
And see what solution we come up. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Trevor, for the engagement and for the responses and for